Yo, what is up, everybody? It's your boy AJ Tripp, and welcome to the Game According to Me podcast. As you can understand from that old school NBA on NBC theme, what we are doing today is talking about the NBA. Tomorrow opens the NBA season, and really, when it comes down to it, it's really basically what do you want to see? It's when it comes down to this preview show. I think in case there is a major injury or anything like that, I think you're going to see once again the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors in the NBA Finals. Houston has made some moves, bringing Chris Paul in. Obviously, Oklahoma City trading for Paul George and Carmelo Anthony. So there, and of course, you can't count out the San Antonio Spurs. So there are definitely some teams in the West, upcoming teams like Minnesota Timberwolves as well, getting Jimmy Butler in the fold from the Chicago Bulls. And then you talk about in the East, really the only team that is a threat to them are the Boston Celtics. Cavs made a trade, with the Celtics, obviously to get Isaiah Thomas. Traded Kyrie Irving back to them. They also signed Gordon Hayward, did the Boston Celtics. So they're the only threat, but I still think as long as you have LeBron James on Cleveland and you have Curry and Durant on the Warriors, those are the two teams that are going to meet in the NBA Finals. And once again, I am predicting the Golden State Warriors once again winning 3 out of 4, cementing their dynasty legacy, and just definitely being one of the all-time great teams in NBA history. But and I'm going to talk about my Bulls in a second, as I always do with these previous shows, talk about my team. That being said, I also want to get into some of the other things that have been talked about that I'm just not a big fan of. I would say I am a fan of this NBA All-Star Game change. I think it's okay. I think it's something to try to spice it up, because sometimes the NBA All-Star Game has been boring to some people, and they don't like the fact that there's basically no defense. There will still be no defense, but it's so packed out in the West for what I just tell you about. You get 4 guys on Golden State that can make the All-Star team, right? And you have Paul and Harden, that's 6. You got the Oklahoma City 3, that's 9. You get Kawhi Leonard, LaMarcus Aldridge from the Spurs, that's 11. And they take 12, right? So I've just said that's 11 of the 12. And then guess what? Towns, Wiggins, and Butler from the Timberwolves. Some other players, Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins from New Orleans. How about Lillard and McCollum from Portland? And Nurkic as well, or Jerkic, whichever one is up there. Nurkic, I think both of them, Nurkic and Jerkic, they're both good. So it's a whole lot of things. Although they still are saying that you have to select 12. They select 12 from the East and 12 from the West. So I don't get that. I really think that they should really just do your top 24. But that's neither here nor there. So I think I wanted to give that a shot. But what this has led to, and I think Adam Silver said this earlier today on the Mike and Mike show, was that this might lead to now doing something where you would make all 16. You would make you would put the best 16 teams, from all of from the entire league, instead of going the Eastern Conference, 8 teams from the East, 8 teams from the West. I'm not a big fan of that. I don't know. Unless you're just gonna get rid of the conferences and just say we have 30 teams, and those 30 teams are going to play, then then do that. Then I would be okay with the top 16 teams. But as long as you have conferences, then you should have conference play. It makes sense. I think it is ridiculous to try to say we're going to take the best, even though we got 2 conferences, we're going to take the best 16 teams from both conferences. No matter, you could very well have 10 teams in the West and 6 from the East. Now, I know you might say, well, that's okay. Those 10 teams would deserve it, right? No! Get rid of the conferences. If you're going to do this, this is foolish. I can't understand this. This is ridiculous. So, I'm totally not a big fan of that. What else? I think, you know, that was just kind of on my thing, on my note. I kind of also think that um, what's going down in the NBA when it comes to these super teams. Um, First of all, I have no idea why we have started calling these things super teams. I don't understand why. Uh, just because these guys are, coming together, they're teams. They're not super teams. I don't know why we need to like do this with everybody. It's not go there. They're not super teams. They're just teams. Um, I kind of think that that's kind of a ridiculous statement to make. And I also get the feeling that it's also kind of a negative connotation. Just just like how you know when you call the Affordable Care Act Obamacare, Obamacare was something that the Republicans said. They said it as a negative. You should not be calling the Affordable Care Act Obamacare, and I don't think you should be calling uh, Golden State Warriors or the Boston Celtics or the Rockets, the Thunder, any of you should not be calling these teams super teams because that's basically a negative connotation towards them. It's not. They're great teams with great players, brought together. So please do not call these teams super teams. I think that's it's stupid and it's basically disrespectful to the other people. Um, okay, so I guess I'll get to my Bulls. And my Bulls are not going to be anything spectacular. I got to be honest with you. I know as a Bulls fan, I should hope that they are bad because then it helps them get a better pick. This next draft is supposed to be pretty loaded. It's supposed to be it's going to be they're going to be like three or four top guys. Michael Porter Jr. is the main one everybody's talking about. She probably will be a one and done guy from Missouri. Um, but there are others. There are others three or four or five guys that are like a top six, something like that. So if you get a top six, you should get like almost a level a game changing player, franchise player, and then also like from 7 to 15, that's supposed to be great players in that one as well. So this should be once again another great draft when it comes down to players in the NBA. Having said that, like I said, even though as a fan I should want the Bulls to lose, I am kind of hoping that the Bulls kind of slip in the 8th spot or the 7th spot for two reasons. One, just to hear people go crazy about that you can't even lose right. You can't even do that correctly. But also, and this is kind of a selfish part on me. I listen to the radio here in Chicago all the time. I really don't want to hear a lot about the Blackhawks this winter, and that's what the Bulls are extremely bad. There's going to be a lot of Blackhawk talk on the radio, and I'm not a Blackhawk fan. I'm not. There's a lot of Johnny Come Lately and Fairweather fans ever since the Blackhawks have become good, but I'm not one of them. Hockey is a sport that you play. You don't watch. It's not a sport that thing for me. So I don't want to hear people talking about it on the radio. So the Bulls are horrible. There's going to be a lot of talking about Blackhawks on the radio, and I won't be able to take it. I really won't. So I kind of want these. I want these Bulls to be surprisingly good. And there's a thing to that. If the Bulls are surprisingly good, that means that they actually might be a little bit closer than you think. Because right now you are looking at a possible, unless they do something in free agency, you are looking at a possible 3 the 3-4 years, just like the 76ers. 3 or 4 years before they actually start to, get good. And do you really want to have that? I don't. This isn't baseball where you're bad for 3 and 4 years. And you might end up with like the Cubs and the Houston Astros, things like that. They're bad for 3 or 4 years, and now they have World Series contending teams. It's not that guaranteed in basketball. The 76ers, I think, got lucky. They selected some transcendent player. However, that being said, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons are kind of injury prone. And so you never know with these guys. So I'm really just hoping that I really am hoping that the Bulls are surprisingly better than what they is. Maybe what I should hope for is that the Bulls being good and competitive in all 82 games, don't not get blown out or anything like that. Good and competitive 82 games, but for 60 of those games, unfortunately, they just don't have enough talent, or they're young and they make too many mistakes, and it costs them in the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, and then the other team, takes out the win, so that you were still entertained for the majority of the four quarters, but it ended up being like I said, just there's a bad a bad showing in the last 5 minutes for the team, and the other team took over and it showed what they were about. Now, they are going to get blown out by a lot of teams, especially teams in the West, but so I guess that's not truly can happen. But I really would like for that the Bulls to have to be surprisingly good, or at least surprisingly competitive. They can be that. I think I'll take that. All right. So once again, just to recap, I'm going chalk. I'm going chalk. There's no doubt about it. Warriors, Cavaliers, NBA Finals. The Warriors will beat the Cavaliers. I'm going to say in 6 games this time, and they will cement their dynasty with 3 out of 4 years, and they will be amongst the best best teams ever played in NBA history. I'll go out on the limb and I'll say that the MVP will be Kevin Durant. The Rookie of the Year will be the guy in Dallas, Dennis Smith Jr. The Improved Player of the Year will be Improved Player of the Year will be. I'm gonna go Thon Maker of Indiana. Just off the top of my head, I'm going to say the Defensive Player of the Year will be Draymond Green once again, and I think the Coach of the Year will be Steve Kerr. So I'll do that, all of that. All right, everybody, that's going to be it for me right now. Make sure you subscribe to A20. The top 10 NBA basketball players will be up tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for listening. As always, be good to each other, y'all. Be careful out there. And I am out. Let's have some fun this NBA season. All right.